here last night in M&T Bank Stadium. Not a good way to end the season with the Steelers, but hey, as Steelers fans, we're used to this shit.
I was just gonna say we should be used to this by now.
And
Six straight.
And we got our other co-host Deez, which is Mike Tomlin, the clown, joining us today. Deez, how are you feeling out there in Chicago?
A, don't fucking put me in Chicago. B, I'm Mike Tomlin. I'm a big dumb dipshit.
Yeah.
Look, I'm extremely disappointed. I'm distraught. I'm upset. I cannot believe that the Ravens let it be that close.
Yeah,
I wanted 50-0.
Hey, listen, I was watching.
It should have been looking at the stats.
I was watching it with a friend of mine, and I kept telling him, I said, listen, like, you gotta. I think they're gonna score fucking 41, and they're like, oh no, that's not gonna happen. Then it was 21-0. I'm like, okay. Pittsburgh had a total of 9 yards in the first half. 9 yards in the first half. Chipper,
it was bad.
What are your thoughts on that?
Hey, like I told you guys in the chat, I was really hoping to be over by halftime so I can get to bed. And when it was 14-0, I had held out hope that maybe it'd be a game by halftime. But then, lo and behold, we let Baltimore go down at the end of the first quarter with less than 2 minutes left in the half. Go down and score again, make it 21-0, and then after that,
because Mike Tomlin was so kind to call those timeouts and save them enough time to drive down the field. Isn't he a swell guy?
Here we are again. Six straight playoff losses for Mike Tomlin.
Or you're 4th and inches and you punt the football.
What the fuck was that? I mean, that drove me absolutely nuts.
4th and inches.
If it wasn't just 6 inches, if it was a full yard or a foot or something like that, okay, punt it. Go ahead. But you need all of maybe 6 inches.
Yeah, if it's a tight game in the third or fourth quarter, 7-point type game where you're actually doing something and you're kind of matching them blow for blow, I kind of get it. Your defense might, if your defense is playing well, maybe you punt the ball, you let your defense go. But you have literally 2 straight times let them drive 85 plus yards. You have to do, in my opinion, something at that point, even though you're backed up. You have to do something for a spark. And while I'm not, always take the big risk, that was a point in the game where I thought it could have really served us to keep our defense off the field, because every time we gave them the ball, they just ran it right down our throats, and they shut it down. Baltimore shut it down in the second half, or it could have been 41 to maybe even nothing, if not for the kind of boneheaded decision that Harbaugh made when we were 3rd and 8 from our own 2-yard line to walk up into zero blitz look. And that's when they hit Calvin Austin for the big first down, which then subsequently led to the touchdown. If they just play base defense there and cover instead of, threatening the blitz, I don't think we score.
See, that fourth and inches play is where Artie Smith should have looked and see what Todd Monken did and how creative he was when he put Mark Andrews under center.
I was just about to say the same thing. I don't know why we can't see that from our play calling or whatnot. Or
you're telling me Darnell Washington under center can't get a goddamn yard?
He can't get 6 inches?
Yeah.
I mean,
Pat Fryermuth can't get 6 inches?
Fuck Pat. I'm putting Darnell there. Just take the snap and fall your big ass forward. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't understand it. I don't understand how this team is constructed anymore, man. And, the Steelers media is just ripping the team. And we got a lot of free agents at the end of the season and some players that we think we should trade and whatnot. And, what is the way to fix this? I don't know. I mean, that there's probably a 99% chance, sure, that we're not getting rid of Tomlin. 99% chance.
Correct.
So you have to find other ways to fix this team, whether trading some of your superstars like a TJ Watt, maybe a Minkah Fitzpatrick, a Highsmith, or a Cam Hayward, and maybe restructure his contract to free up a little bit of money. They brought it up $130 million defense and you can't stop anybody. That's the highest paid defense in the league, and you cannot stop anybody. They let Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson and Isaiah Likely run and get wide open all over them. They let Lamar run all over the field, and it's looks like the defensive backs just gave up. I'm tired of seeing Cam Sutton out there. I'm tired of seeing James Pierre out there. I'm tired of seeing Dante Jackson, who is half crippled, can't do it anymore. So there's a lot of questions on his defense and a lot of questions on the offense that we got coming up that we're going to have to make decisions about. And again, why wasn't Preston Smith given a helmet? Why was he not active?
Good question.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why you would want a pass rush guy who is also big enough to play the defensive line and has been known to be a decent run stopper. How can I word this? I appreciate the fact that they had a game plan to try and limit
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. Didn't work, obviously. But then when it was clear through the first like 3 drives that it wasn't working, let's just not fucking change it and just, keep tackling running backs that didn't have the ball. Even James Harrison from his couch from Twitter was like, why are we not playing linebacker force? Which is basically let the linebacker make the read and then make a play rather than blindly go after the back every time, because Lamar was killing us. And hats off to Harbaugh and Lamar for finally figuring it out. They finally let the game come to them instead of stick to their guns and try and let Lamar beat us with his arm, because that's how they went 2-8 over the last, 10 games. But they finally said, you know what, we're just going to do this. We're going to let Lamar run it if it's there. And if it's not, we're going to hand it off to Derrick Henry, and he's just going to embarrass you for 299 rushing yards. And that stat alone, 290 fucking 9 rushing yards. That stat alone, if I'm the owner of that team, I fire everybody on the coaching staff except Danny Smith. He's the only one that survives. That's an embarrassment. You want this team to play like the 70s Steelers, which is, I don't know if that comes from Art Rooney. I don't know if it comes from Mike Tomlin, whoever. That is an embarrassment to the league. This is what you expect to see when like old school Alabama plays McNeese State. Like it's unreal. And the stat that I was going to tell you off air, but saved it. 126-7 is the deficit that the Steelers have faced in the last 5 playoff games. Not even counting when the last season that they won a game and then lost the AFC Championship game. The last 5 first playoff appearances that they've had where they've lost, they have faced a deficit of 126-7. And technically it's 126-0 because that 7 came from TJ Watt's fumble recovery against the Chiefs.
Well, I'm sure we'll all agree it starts at the very top, from ownership to Tom.
Yeah. Bob Nutty needs to sell the team. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean Art Rooney.
That was just an abysmal performance last night, regardless. And the good part about it was that TJ Watt led the team in tackles with 15, even though Derrick Henry never had the ball when he tackled him. But
right,
but at some point, if you're TJ Watt, you're being coached. Okay, go after Derrick Henry. We want to limit him. But at what point are you TJ Watt and you're saying, well, I got to quit crashing down on him and just set the edge and wait to see if Lamar is going to run the ball or if Derrick Henry's going to run the ball. If Derrick Henry's running the ball, that's why we have Keanu Benton. That's why we have Cam Hayward. That's why we have Patrick Queen. That's why we have Landon Roberts is to stop the running game.
Yeah. They've been talking about, miscommunications and hero ball. We needed some hero ball last night. We needed some guys to be like, you know what? Fuck this game plan that isn't working. Let's play because this team, both sides, but especially the defense, they're not bums.
Nope.
All right. There are a lot of guys on this defense that are star and starting caliber players in this NFL. No question in my mind. The scheme is old and it's dated, and it's been figured out, and it doesn't match up against the new style offense that most teams are running. It's just baffling. Like Minkah Fitzpatrick, who is one of the names I say maybe it's time to move on from, because, you know, in this defense and the way that this defense is coached, he's not allowed to be a playmaker. And we didn't hear his name a lot early because they weren't throwing the ball. But if he's worth that kind of money, let him kind of freelance a little bit. Let him ball hawk. Let him walk up to the line of scrimmage, fake a blitz, do something.
It just seems like the whole mentality on both sides of the ball, offense and defense, is old school related, and it's just not going to work.
GT on air from WOBO, my good friends over there, says fire Tomlin. It's time. And Justin says, is there a missing persons search off for TJ Watt? Justin, I personally don't disagree with you. And Gary, I personally don't disagree with you. I mean, I don't know why this defense doesn't move TJ Watt around. I don't know why Mike Tomlin still continues the game plan and not get these guys prepared for teams to play better or whatnot. I don't get it. And every year we're going through the same thing. It's just a sad situation, man. And you know, we get into the playoffs every year and people are happy about it. Me personally, I'm not happy about getting into the playoffs and going to watch this ass kicking that I know that we're going to get each and every year. It's better to end the season in the regular season, not getting to the playoffs, and just sit home and watch, because we know exactly what's going to happen, especially with a Tomlin coach team. It is time to move on. Sometimes a different voice is better in the locker room. Sometimes you have to make a change that you don't want to. Again, you know, when Bill Walsh was let go in San Francisco, they brought in Seifert.
Yep.
Seifert did the same exact thing. You have to have different voices at times, and them different voices can change the way that these teams play. I'm tired of the mediocrity with Mike Tomlin. I'm tired of going 10-7 or 11-6 and getting into the playoffs and not even going in the first round. I don't understand how the franchise does not see this or listen to what is out there, instead of just saying, okay, well, we're going to bring Tomlin back and we're going to be stuck with going to the playoffs and running the football. That way doesn't work. I'm looking on Twitter right now. I guess that Kyle Brandt from Good Morning America went in hard on Mike Tomlin, and Rich Eisen is sticking up for Mike Tomlin.
Of course, Rich Eisen is Mike Tomlin's boy.
Yeah, I don't know. And then there's a list of free agents that the Steelers have for next year. So, I mean, we'll get through that a little bit later on. But
I've been saying this for weeks, that at some point the head coach just gets stale, and there needs to be a new voice in the locker room. And at this point in time, in 18 years and 6 consecutive playoff losses, Tomlin has run his course, and it's time for a new voice in the locker room.
And Gary says there's no way true Steelers fans did think you even had a chance against chance last night.
No.
All season. Russ Wilson question. David says extremely disappointed being a fan for 48 years, shaking my head. Justin George says they had an assignment to crash Henry. Yeah, but still, like,
yeah, to speak on the whole TJ thing, yeah, he's not, you know, putting up the numbers that he normally has, but I don't think it's that TJ is not really playing well, because if you watch TJ, he's still beating his man a lot. He's still getting held a lot. The difference is teams have figured out what the key is. We don't have a push up front, especially when Hayward is like taking a blow. Hayward is the only real true defensive lineman that gets any kind of push. So when TJ or Alex or Nick, when they get that outside pressure, a quarterback that has any kind of quickness has done what, especially here lately? They step up in the pocket and either make the throw or they scramble for a few yards. And we don't have a counter for that. If we had somebody that could actually force a quarterback to his left or right, we'd put him on a stretcher. But the book is out. The Tomlin's defense, like it's there. You know how to beat it now.
It doesn't help that, again, that the opposing offense had not one but 2 drives of 10 plus plays and about 10 minutes each.
Yeah.
I believe Baltimore last night had a 13 play drive and either a 10 or 11 play drive, and they both lasted almost 10 minutes each.
One of them drives, if I do believe, was 13 consecutive running plays.
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. All they did is run.
13
Yeah,
consecutive running plays.
Yeah.
David brought up, says they're not going to get rid of the coach. It's not going to change. The Rooney family is the standard to think about how many coaches we've had. Correct.
Standard is the standard.
Justin, now we'll go around the room with this. Dees, I'll ask you this first. Justin wants to know on your thoughts on George Pickens' comments.
All right. This message is for George Pickens. And Dave, you're not going to like this. George, you need to go and have a little meeting with your agent. And then you need to go and have a meeting with Mike Tomlin. And all you need to do is sit there and talk about how hot Mike Tomlin's wife is and make mildly inappropriate comments and make it so incredibly uncomfortable that Mike Tomlin trades you, because you are never going to be the superstar that you should be on this piece of shit team. They're never going to get you a quarterback. Get out of town while you still can.
Right.
Well, first off, I agree.
As far as his comments, I don't blame him, because I'm not optimistic about him either.
I was actually surprised at the one comment that, when they asked him about, the offense, and he said, nah, because he was doing well in that answering those questions to give the politically correct answers until that answer. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, here's the thing. We know what this offense looks like without him, right? We know what it looks like without him. But again, like Adam Bittner says and Paul Zeist, if you're going to get rid of this guy, you better get somebody who's just as good as him or better than him. And they're not going to do that.
It doesn't matter, though, if you have the same offensive system with the same quarterback. You could go get prime Jerry Rice on one side and prime Randy Moss on the other, and we're still going to run the fucking ball and suck.
Correct. But I'm just going by what the Steelers media, who were on the Steelers media every day, are talking about. If you're going to get rid of Pickens, you better have somebody who's the same talent or better talent than what he is, because as of right now, he is the best wide receiver on this team, hands down.
No question.
They don't understand why Mike Williams didn't get as many plays as he did. They wanted to know why Van Jefferson was out there playing.
But he did have a touchdown last night.
He did have a touchdown. That's okay. I mean, Calvin Austin, they said that Calvin Austin is a number 3 wide receiver. They said there's a lot of names out there that are, again, a lot of players on this team that are free agents and that they need to be addressed. But if you're going to get rid of George Pickens, listen, I like George Pickens. He's got good talent, but you have to get him the football in order to do that. Again, Dees, like you said, to your point, you have to not play how you're not scheming on offenses how you are. You have to get an offensive coordinator who will push the ball down the field. You have to get players that are going to fit your scheme. You can't
have a quarterback that'll throw the ball down.
Correct. You're not letting me finish. Why isn't Justin Fields not playing? Again, we brought this up, I think it was 2 weeks ago, when Justin Fields had decent wide receivers, Mooney and DJ Moore. He looked pretty good. He looked better than Russell Wilson. So why can't we go out and say, bring Pickens back, okay, which we still have him. He's on a rookie deal, and you go sign a big name free agent like a T. Higgins. Put that out there with the tight end, with Freiermuth. Go draft yourself a running back or trade for a running back. Maybe use Minka to trade a running back for, free up some money, and run it back for one more year with that offensive scheme with Arthur Smith, and tell Smith, hey, you gotta get him the ball. You got to get him the ball, because if you're going to trade Pickens, what are you getting for him?
I don't want Arthur Smith's offense.
You're not wrong, but Chipper is exactly right. If you are not going to succeed with this Artie Smith or Matt Canada or Randy Fiechner or whoever the fuck else you want to parade into that offensive coordinator room, when you have Mike Tomlin telling you don't take chances, run the ball, throw the ball outside, or throw it deep. You don't go over the middle of the field because linebackers are there and safeties are there and you might throw an interception. Oh no, get the fuck out of my team.
It's just not going to work. A 20-year-old offense is not going to work in today's NFL.
20?
Okay, 40.
At least.
Dubs in here. Don P says everybody know why Fields played. That was only for the regular season, where the compensatory pick was given to Pittsburgh or given to the Bears for that. They talked about that last night on the pregame that he could play a certain amount of snaps or whatever. David says Pickens needs to mature.
True.
Here in Connecticut, I heard rumors of Pickens going to the Chiefs. My question to all of you is, where do you go from here? That's a very good question, David, because we don't know as Steelers fans. I don't think the organization knows where they go because they're stuck in purgatory. They're stuck in being the standard.
He's 1,000% correct where he says Pickens needs to mature.
Well,
1,000.
I agree with that. With that.
I agree with that too. But who are you going to get that's better than him out there, Chipper? You said you want him gone. So who are you going to get out there that's better than him that can come in and do what he does? Answer that question.
T. Higgins, Courtland Sutton.
Okay, but are you going to?
Because neither one of them are head cases.
Okay.
That's the only reason why I don't want Pickens, because he's a head case, just like Chase Claypool was, just like Antonio Brown was towards the end of his career with the Steelers.
But again,
and what do they all have in common? Mike Tomlin drafted him.
Well, but hold on. George Pickens' rookie year, he wasn't. I mean, yeah, he was fiery and got into some altercations, but we've seen him kind of get this whole immaturity thing has kind of reared its head more and more over the last couple years. I don't know if I'm a stud wide receiver like George Pickens or Chase Claypool or Deontay Johnson or whatever, and I'm stuck watching the same stale fucking offense year after year after year, I might act out a little bit too.
Correct. That's what I'm trying to say.
You know, I mean,
and look at the quarterbacks that he's had to deal with. Who are the quarterbacks that he had to deal with?
Pickett, Trubisky, your boy Mason Rudolph, Russell Wilson.
I mean, there's another iron in the fire right there. Get him a good quarterback that can get them the football, push the ball down the field. Dub is right. Arthur Smith is trash.
Correct. But at what point you're a rookie? Well, you're not a rookie. You're a third year player. You don't. How do I put this? How do I put this the right way? You haven't earned the right to act out yet.
And you're 100%.
Just shut your mouth, do your job, answer the questions with the politically correct answer. And then if you want out after next year because of the offense is trash, go.
That's not going to happen because your boy Mike Tomlin allows them to have free speech and let them be who they are. That's why Melvin Ingram, when he left here and went to Kansas City, ripped this organization and said that they don't practice hard enough, they're not coached hard enough. So if they don't practice hard enough and they're not coached hard enough, where does that come from?
But it's still on Tomlin for not.
It's on Omar Khan.
Set them straight.
It's on Omar Khan, and it is also on Mike Tomlin for not bringing a decent veteran wide receiver who has some maturity, who can take him underneath of his wing.
I don't know how much faith I put into comments made by a guy that was just salty that he couldn't get on the field over TJ Watt and whoever the other outside linebacker was. Highsmith. Nobody else like Ryan Clark and other James Harrison, guys that have actually been here their entire career. None of them have ever come out and said shit like that. So I kind of put that as sour grapes, as Melvin Ingram was a big crybaby bitch because he didn't get the playing time that he wanted. I don't think that it's a case where Tomlin they don't practice hard enough. I think Tomlin probably coddles some players like we saw with AB and to a certain degree, probably Deontay for a little bit, but
it also just so happens to be wide receivers.
Yeah, well, yeah,
right?
Wide receivers are divas. How do they make their money? By making catches, by making big plays. And what do wide receivers, especially since, I don't know, like 2018 when Ben started to really decline, what has happened to this offense? We've become pretty much nothing but dink and dunk with the occasional deep ball. A few more deep balls now that we have Russell Wilson, who throws a nice deep ball. But how many times do we have a receiver, not a tight end or a running back, but a receiver running quick slants, ins, short, skinny posts? We don't. We throw outside or we throw deep. Every once in a blue moon, we might hit a receiver on a slant. And last night, George caught one for a first down. I was fucking shocked that they let him run a route inside the numbers. Like the book is out on the Mike Tomlin offense. Say what you want about Arthur Smith or Matt Canada or Randy Fichtner or the laundry list of other shitty offensive coordinators that we've had. The bottom line is, while the formations and some of the pre-snap motions have changed, the offensive system has never changed in the last decade. It's the same. And it comes from one person or maybe two. If it ain't Mike Tomlin, then it's Art Rooney above him telling him that too. And if that's the case, then Art needs to sell the team, give it to his son or somebody that actually gives a shit about football, because right now he's no better than the owner of the Pirates. Just sit there and write their checks, have their little meetings in the offseason and eat caviar off of strippers while they collect our money and put a shit product on the field.
Don P brings up a good point. Just like I said, question: who is the veteran wide receiver in the Steelers locker room? Chipper, I'm going to let you answer that question. Who's the veteran wide receiver in that locker room?
Right now, I'd have to say Mike Williams
or Van.
Van Jefferson, but I
okay
tend to go with the Mike Williams.
Okay, I'm gonna let you read this question.
He's been there. He's been there and done that.
This question from David. Go ahead.
One more question, because I do like Russ and what he brings. Oh, please. And Justin is pretty damn good. So what do we do with both quarterbacks? Well, we brought that up. Did we bring it up on the show? Or was that pre-show? What?
Pre-show.
So what you're saying is Russ is going to what $16 million?
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's what the Steelers media are saying.
Okay, so $30 million over 2 years.
For 2 years. That's all to me, that's all he's worth. You guys, or you said, Chipper, a couple weeks back, that market value.
Correct.
You like to use that word, market value.
And I'll stand by
that.
So
is his market value right now at $30 million?
I don't think.
Answer the question.
So you're talking $15 million a year.
No, you said $30 million a year.
You said $30 million over 2 years.
I did say that, but you said a couple weeks back that he was going to ask market value at $30 million a year.
Correct.
Is he worth that now?
Not now, no. Not after these last 5 weeks, no.
Okay, so then what is he going to get? And what are you spending on him if you're bringing him back?
I don't want him back.
But if that's the option, what's a feasible contract for him?
I don't know. I guess the $15 million is a good number.
You think he's really worth $15 million on what you've seen in the last 5 games of the season?
Again, it depends on what team he goes to.
Steelers. That's what I'm talking about.
Steelers, no.
Okay.
Because you can sign Justin Fields.
Dave, you need to lay off my boy Chipper there. He's literally just saying what the media is saying. Sport Track had Russ valued at $40 million a year just a few weeks ago. Now, there's no chance that's what his market value is now, for the simple fact that it's been bad.
No.
But I mean, he is right that's what people were saying, not us. And none of us, I don't think, has ever said that he was worth $30 million short of winning a Super Bowl. Back to Paul Zeiss and whoever the other guy was with him.
Adam,
I don't want him back at 15 mil.
Me neither. I don't want him back.
He can't throw over the middle of the field. He can't get out of the pressure situations. Last night, he had happy feet. He hears footsteps. This isn't 26, 28-year-old Russ anymore. This is 36, 37-year-old Russ. And especially if the coaching staff doesn't change and this offensive line continues to learn whatever bullshit technique that Pat Meyer teaches them, Russ is going to continue to get killed. We're going to continue to throw 5-yard outs and 30-yard deep balls. And we're going to somehow manage to back our way into 9 or 10 wins. And then we're going to get the ever-loving dog shit beat out of us in the first round of the playoffs.
I'm a firm believer that at this point in time, we just let Russ go, let him go somewhere where he be a bridge quarterback, whether it be Raiders, whether it be some other team that's drafting high with a to get a quarterback, to be a bridge quarterback and keep Justin Fields. Because I personally think you can get Justin Fields on a 3-year deal for maybe about the same money as a Russell Wilson.
I would say you can get Justin Fields for 3 years, $40 million.
Potentially. It all depends on how everything else falls. Because there are teams out there that are probably willing to overpay for Justin. It's a matter of what does Justin want to do. And again, even if I'm Justin Fields and I'm looking at this team and I'm looking at this offensive system,
right?
I think I'd be hesitant to come back here.
Correct.
unless they overpaid for me. That's just, I mean,
Yeah,
that is what it is. In a perfect world,
I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. Don P says 30 for 2 years is chump change. Brenda says keep Justin Fields. Don says if the Steelers don't pay him, somebody will. Is he talking about Fields or is he talking about Russell Wilson? David says, right, agreed on. And Justin can. Justin just needs out of the or gets out of the pocket, etc. So keep Justin, dump Russ. Fields is going to cash in somewhere. I do believe Fields will cash in somewhere if he's given that opportunity. But he came out and said that he'd like to stay in Pittsburgh. But again,
what would you expect him to say?
Again, let's see how this plays out. We'll see how it plays out. I know I don't want Russell Wilson back. I would say if I'm the Steelers and I'm offering him a contract, 2 years, $25 million. Take it or leave it.
2 points. One to Donald. If the Steelers don't pay him, that somebody will. Good. Go be somebody else's problem, because what you get out of Russ is not going to change. He's not going to magically turn into a better quarterback. He's washed. He's got a nice deep ball. That's it. Yeah, I like some of the things he says, and maybe he's got good leadership capabilities, but that don't win games. Somebody else can pay him that money. I don't want to. Now, as for Tyrone, Dub, whatever, Justin Fields is mediocre at best. I'm not ready to say that, because Justin Fields was in Matt Nagy purgatory, and he's had now what, 4 offensive coordinators in his career.
Now he's in Artie Smith purgatory.
Yeah. And again, when but Justin Fields has had decent wide receivers, DJ Moore, Mooney, and Cole Kmet.
He went 5-2 down the stretch last year.
He played decently with the players that he had, so he hasn't had a chance. Ryan Neff is going to join us here real quick. We'll add him to the stage too as well.
If you put Russ, or not Russ, if you put Justin Fields in a system that is suited to a mobile quarterback, i.e., if you put him in Philly or you put him, hell, even in Baltimore, I'm not saying he's going to be as good as those guys are, but you would see a lot better version of Justin Fields than what you have seen in Pittsburgh and in the Matt Nagy years. Do I think he's Lamar Jackson? No, but I think he can be something comparable to that if you give him the opportunity, because the talent is off the charts.
Clint says Russ ain't got it no more. The man threw the deep ball into triple coverage. Calvin Austin, not to Pickens, not to Mike Williams. Once again, he is correct. David said, very disappointed. Have a good day, gentlemen. Tyrone or Dub says that Justin Fields got beat up too bad in Chicago and doesn't have it anymore because he had no line there.
Right?
No, he's 26. Don't give me that shit. Go back and watch Lamar Jackson's first 3 or 4 years in the league. Guess what? He was a horrible fucking quarterback. Horrible. Couldn't read a defense to save his life. But that's developed, and he still has the athletic ability. So now he's become an MVP caliber quarterback because he's had decent coaching. Go back and look at the Baltimore offensive coordinators and compare them to the Steeler offensive coordinators, and it's like watching an NFL coach versus a fucking middle school coach. Our offensive coordinators have been absolute ass. And Clint, you can't throw to Mike Williams because he's not on the fucking field.
Correct.
How on 4th and 15 are you throwing a moonshot to 5'8" Calvin Austin in triple coverage, and 6'4" Mike Williams is on the goddamn sideline? What in the fuck are we doing?
So with the last 2 offensive coordinators that we've had in Matt Canada and now Artie Smith.
By the way, what's up, Ryan? How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
All right, go ahead, Chipper.
And the offensive, and I don't know how to explain it, offensive mentality or the offensive mentality that the Steelers have. Is there really a quarterback that can succeed in this offensive philosophy?
No, I'll say it. No, you could bring fucking Tom Brady from 10 years ago, and as long as Mike Tomlin and whatever lackey he has running the offense, we're going to suck.
So as much as we would love to sit here and talk about signing Russ or signing Justin Fields or drafting a quarterback or signing Kirk Cousins or signing this other quarterback, it would be safe to say that until the Steelers change their offensive philosophy that no quarterback is really going to succeed, and neither is the team.
It's not only safe to say, but I would say that's probably 1,000% fact. I just don't see it.
Here's the other thing. Let's hope that Arthur Smith gets a head coaching job because his name is in the mix for some head coaching jobs,
which is laughable.
I mean, some teams value him.
Sure.
I mean, some teams
I don't know. They may have scratched his name off the list after these last couple games.
Dub said, or not Dub. We'll get to Dub, but Don P says Lamar won MVP in year 2. Dub says Lamar and Justin Fields are not the same. We're not saying that they're the same. Lamar and has always been a natural talent.
Right.
We haven't seen what Justin Fields can do. We haven't put him on the field and
he hasn't been in the right system.
Right system. He hasn't been in the right system. So we don't know what he can do. He's still 26. He's still got about 4 or 5 years prime. He was drafted at 11 for a reason. He's got first round talent. I mean, was he a little overdrafted? Probably. Did Chicago not have a good, not a good franchise? They're in the same boat with Caleb Williams. Same exact boat. Listen, they've drafted 3 franchise quarterbacks in 6 years in Chicago. So something's wrong in Chicago. They had Mitch Trubisky. They took him at 2. Then they took Justin Fields 2 years later with the 11th pick. And now they picked again with the first pick, and they got Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams is not as good as everybody thinks he is. And now they're drafting again in the top 5, right? Ain't they like 5 or 6?
Who?
Chicago.
Yeah, they're up there.
Yeah, so again, they're drafting in the top 10 in the NFL. So Caleb Williams hasn't worked. So Ryan, what's up? How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
We're not too good, dude. We're not too good.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, which is what Pittsburgh does. And I've said this for the last couple years, and I've said it on your show many times. They should move on from Tomlin. They need a different voice. They need to bring in an offensive-minded coach. And you let go of Russ. You start Fields. You see what he has. But look, the Baltimore Ravens ran the ball 50 times for 300 yards yesterday. Pittsburgh ran it 15 times for 29 yards. But they tried to insist on pushing the ball down the field. You can't run the football, you're not going to win. Flat out, period.
Hold on. To your
I don't
point,
care what anybody else says. It might be a passing league, but I'll beat it to death if you can't run the football. And at some point, they should have brought Justin in yesterday because of his legs. Because of his legs. He can get outside the pocket. He can create. Russ can't do that anymore, man.
14 out of the last 15 Super Bowl champions have been top 10 passing offenses. So, I mean, you can win throwing the ball. The problem, and I commend Pittsburgh for not coming out and running the ball we didn't have a lot of first downs, but every first and second down, they didn't try and slam into a brick wall. They did come out throwing. The problem is we know where they're going to throw it, and so did Baltimore. That's why as soon as the pass was thrown, if it was caught and not dropped like Muth did, which I'm not going to knock him, he's still my guy, they throw outside or they throw deep. There's nothing over the middle of the field, which over the course of the year, we have seen that's Baltimore's weakness is the middle of the field, much like it was for us. It's not going to change anything, and it's not going to open up the run game when all you're doing is you're throwing 5-yard outs and screen passes. You got Freiermuth, who catches the ball, should have got a first down, but because it took so long for the ball to get there, he's immediately tackled. Like, it's just banging your head against the wall.
Right.
Don P says Caleb isn't only a 1 year, and look at his numbers compared to the other top picks. Caleb Williams is not the answer. I don't care. You can't sell me on that book. He's not going to be a good NFL quarterback unless you get an offensive-minded head coach, and maybe that's not going to be the answer. And Don P says, breaking news, Vrabel is the next Patriots head coach.
Yeah, that came out yesterday.
But Don P says define success for Justin Fields. So I'm looking up his stats for Pittsburgh this year. He played in 5 games, and he had 5 passing touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns.
I thought he played 6 games. Wasn't he 4-2?
Yeah, 6 games. I'm sorry. They said they had him on here for 5 games. I'm sorry, 6 games. So 5 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, and 5 rushing touchdowns. So 10 total touchdowns this guy's had. Okay. So Russell Wilson has played 10 games and had 16. So if you give him the opportunity to play, I think his stats would have been a little bit better. Also, Justin Fields hasn't played every game his whole career. He played 12 his first year, 15 his second year, 13 his third year, and he still had decent numbers. 17 touchdowns his second year, 16 his first year, or 17 is his third year. I'm sorry, 16 his fourth year, and 5, this year. So,
and I think Justin was on pace for I want to say around 700 yards rushing had he continued that average through the season.
And they supposedly had packages for him last night, but if I read correctly, he was only in for 2 plays last night.
I remember 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I don't think that
none of which was at 4th and inches.
Oh no, none at 4th and inches. It is time. It is time, whether people like to believe it or not, to move on from Tomlin. And they'll probably say we're crazy that he can go to any other team and do the same thing. Let me see him go to Chicago. He won't do that in Chicago. He definitely won't do that in New York Giants. He won't do that in Carolina. He won't do that in Indy. Where else won't he do it at? He won't do it in Miami. He won't do it in
Vegas.
He won't do it in Vegas.
Well,
a couple other stats that have been thrown out that some of these pro Tomlin people and talking heads don't really mention is Mike Tomlin now has 8 first-round playoff exits. 1 shy of the all-time low record by good old Marty Schottenheimer of 9. Okay. Bill Cowher went to the playoffs in 10 of his 14 years, and he had exactly 2 one and dones. Mike Tomlin has gone to the playoffs, I think, what they say, 11 or 12 of his 18, 19 years, and he has 8. Like, how is this acceptable in any fucking world?
6 consecutive playoff losses.
Yes. Yeah. 5 one and dones.
My guess what the Steelers will do, like every other organization does, let's get rid of our coordinators first. Let's bring in different coordinators, but we're not going to get rid of the head coach. Oh, and by the way, Baltimore had the ball almost 40 minutes. Why do you think that was? Because they ran the football and they sustained drives.
And we couldn't. I mean, that's a double-edged sword. But yeah, they ran the ball, controlled the clock, but it's easy to run the ball and control the clock when you're going 3 and out every time because your offense is absolute dog shit. So it's 6 of one, half of the other. You got to be able to run the ball, but as the other team, if you don't control the ball, you're going to give up time of possession, and that's become a pattern over the last 5 games that we've lost. Even Cincinnati, who doesn't, they ran it decent, but not like Baltimore did or Kansas City or Philly, but they were still able to sustain drives and keep their defense off the field.
I actually brought that up earlier, the fact that Baltimore had at least 2 drives that were 10 plays or more, and about 10 minutes or more. One of those drives, by the way, was a 95-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
Scoring drive.
Old school football, you can go back to the Niners, the old West Coast offense. They didn't run the ball great. They did okay, but they controlled the ball and the clock with the short passes, the slants, the quick ins, the quick outs, attacking the middle of the field where there's weaknesses, especially in a zone. We don't do that because Russ is a fucking midget and can't see over his offensive line.
Deez and I talked about this last week on my show. When you can't sustain drives offensively, and you keep putting your defense on the field, your defense is going to wear out, period. So, again, I mean, who sucked worse yesterday, the defense or the offense?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it was equal suckage, to be honest with you. I think the only reason that we even scored was because Baltimore just kind of let off the gas and started playing soft and doing stuff kind of out of their character. That game was 28-14, and to somebody who didn't watch it, be like, oh, that wasn't so bad. No, that's one of the worst beatings I think we've ever seen, for the simple fact that we gave up 299 yards rushing.
Yeah, so Adam Schefter, real quick, is reporting, it just came across the Twitter line, that Vrabel signed a multi-year deal with the Patriots. We knew that was coming, and he also said that the Steelers, as of this morning, have no indication to let Mike Tomlin go as of right now.
They probably won't.
Yeah, I mean, we know it's not going to happen.
That's what Adam Schefter is reporting.
Look, I put it in the message last night that I was hoping the game would be over at halftime last night so I can get to bed early. I actually held out hope at the point where it was only 14-0. I figured, all right, well, looks like I'll be staying up past halftime because it can be a close game. But then lo and behold, with less than 2 minutes left in the game or in the half, we let Baltimore go down.
Last night marked the 5th straight time that we were held to 17 or fewer points, and that is the franchise's first streak since 1969 when Chuck Noll took over.
And we begin next season on a 5-game losing streak.
Yep.
How about that? Let's keep Mike Tomlin. Let's keep him.
But he's not the problem.
All you freaking pro Tomlin lovers.
He's not the problem.
Oh no.
What's it going to take for the Steelers to fire him or make him or he resigns? What's it going to take?
His contract expiring?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's unfortunately the case. Or I don't know. I'm just.
Don P says that Tomlin has earned the grace to
No, he
leave
hasn't.
whenever he's ready.
No way.
How?
No, he hasn't.
Explain to me why. Explain. I legit will sit here all fucking day until you can give me
Because
one
they're
good
gonna say-
reason. What has
I know
he
what they're
done?
gonna say. He's had winning seasons and never a losing season.
So what? 10 wins, no playoffs. Hasn't won anything since 2008.
I brought this up yesterday in Unscripted, Don. I brought up, now I don't know, is he a Browns fan?
Don P?
Yeah.
Yes.
I brought up the fact that years ago, the Browns got rid of Sam Rutigliano because he couldn't get them over the hump.
Red Right 88.
They brought in Marty Schottenheimer, figuring
The
that
fumble the drive.
they can get him, that he can get them over the hump, which didn't happen. And then they brought in Bud Carson. So at some point, shit just isn't working, and they need a change. They need a change at head coach and a change of voice in the locker room. After 18 years, and it should have been done way sooner than now. After 18 years, Mike Tomlin has run his course, and there's a need for a new voice in the locker room. Plain
And
and simple.
I'll pile onto that. Andy Reid in Philadelphia.
Yep.
He left. He went and he won Super Bowls with Kansas City. Great. Philadelphia, they got a new coach. They ended up winning a Super Bowl. Took a little longer than they wanted to, but it happened. I'll do another one for you. Tony Dungy, John Gruden. They kind of wore out their welcome at their respective teams, the Raiders and the Bucks, and they ended up basically switching jobs. Guess what happened? They won Super Bowls.
Did Bill Walsh and George Seifert end up being the same thing? Did Bill Walsh ended up running his course, and then they brought in George Seifert to take over for him in San Francisco?
What did Tom Landry? I mean, yeah, they were kind of on the way back, but I think he earned the respect to be able to keep his job. But no, it was time for a change. And before he went batshit crazy, Jerry Jones brought in his buddy and let him run the team. What'd they do? They won a Super Bowl. Like, it's time. Bill Cowher was getting kind of stale. He won his Super Bowl. He got out when the getting was good.
Don P says that Andy Reid left on his own terms.
But he knew it was time. Like, he knew it was time to move on, that he had run his course in Philly, whether it was ownership or the players or whatever. He knew it was time for a change of scenery. Had to go.
He probably left on his own terms because they gave him that choice. We're going to fire your ass.
Yeah.
Or you're going to resign. So Tomlin's 8-11 career as a playoff coach. He's 3-9 in the playoffs in the postseason since making the Super Bowl back in the 2010 season. Granted, he's never had a losing season, and the Mike Tomlin backers will always point that out. But look, fire his ass. Again, it's time for a new direction. A good buddy of mine who does sports radio up in Allentown, I asked him last night, are they going to fire Tomlin? He's like, no chance. He's like, your staff is horrible. They're unprepared. They don't show up to compete in the playoffs.
There are 13 NFL coaches in NFL history that have double-digit playoff losses. 13 of them. Mike Tomlin is now one of those 13. Of those 13, there are only 2, and that's Marty Schottenheimer and Chuck Knox, who have fewer wins.
Oh, I forgot about Chuck Knox. Now that's going way back.
Chuck Knox from the Seattle Seahawks.
No, Buffalo.
He was also the head coach
Okay,
for Seattle.
You're right. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Don P says that Walsh retired. He said Andy also left.
So did Bill Cowher. He retired.
So did Tom Landry. He retired.
Correct.
You guys
That-
forgot
that-
about,
I mean-
you guys forgot about one big one. What about Dallas when they hired Jimmy
Jimmy
Johnson,
Johnson.
and they got him out of there, and they told her either you're going to leave and they basically
And they brought
fired
in-
him.
And they brought in Barry Switzer.
Barry Switzer.
Well, Tom Landry didn't retire. He was forced to retire.
Yeah, he was fired. Plain
He was
and simple.
fired.
Yeah, Jerry Jones walked in, said, "Thanks, you're gone.
Get out.
I'm bringing my old college buddy in here."
I think he did it in a fax. He didn't even have the decency to go to Tom Landry and say, "Hey, we're not going to retain your services." I think he did it by fax, unceremoniously.
Did they even have fax machines back then?
Yeah.
Yeah,
When was that? 89?
89.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, they did have fax machines back then. Okay. I mean,
Okay. So Don, here, what in your mind? What is it going to take for you to think, okay, he's got to go? Like, I'm sorry, but his current playoff record, especially since the Super Bowl, has been complete ass. Like, what is it going to take? Does he need to only win 3 or 4 games for a decade, or what?
the only defense that the pro Tomlin lovers can come up with for keeping him is the fact that he's 9-8, 10-7 every year. That's it. There can be no other possible defense for keeping him. None.
If Mike Tomlin didn't come in right after Bill Cowher and primarily have Bill Cowher's teams, he'd be Jeff fucking Fisher.
And again, name me what franchise that he can go to right now, change the culture, and turn that around and get them winning within the next 2-3 years. Answer that question. That's what I want you to answer, because he hasn't done it in Pittsburgh. He hasn't.
I brought it up,
And also, real quick, and then I'll let you bring it up. How many coaches from his coaching tree has went on to be NFL head coaches?
I think
Not one.
I brought this on unscripted yesterday. The fact that he has never, ever had to rebuild or retool the team. He's always had to replace a piece part here and there, but he's never actually had to rebuild, retool, because he inherited Bill Cowher's team, and he's always replaced pieces, parts, but never had to rebuild or retool the team.
And the whole coaching tree thing speaks volumes to me too, because that tells me that he won't go out and get somebody that is innovative and can turn something around. He brings in yes men who will do things exactly the way he wants them done, or they're shown the door. And that's why Todd Haley's gone. That's why Bruce Arians is gone. He brings in guys like Randy Fichtner and fucking Matt Canada, things like that, because he plays old style football.
Brian Flores is the only one that I can think of from the Tomlin tree that is actually had
He's
any
not
kind
from the
of that.
Tomlin tree, though.
Where'd he come from?
He came from Miami. He was the Miami's head coach.
No, but he was with the Steelers before he went to Miami.
No, he was wasn't he I believe he's a Belichick boy.
Yes, he was with New England as their defensive coordinator, then got the job in Miami, and then they fired him and got Mike McDaniel, and then he came over to Pittsburgh.
Not one coordinator from Mike Tomlin's entire regime has got a head coaching job.
Wait a minute, Ken Wisinghut, wasn't he with
Cowher. That was
Okay.
Cowher's offensive coordinator.
Okay.
Yeah. Arians, you could almost kind of say that, but let's not bullshit it. That was a Cowher guy as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, Don P says that's a question you'd have to ask for ownership.
Well, he's the one that brought up about getting rid of Tomlin. Well, what's it going to take?
At this point, we don't know. At this
Yeah,
point,
I mean, I'm asking your opinion because you're telling us we're crazy for wanting to get rid of him, but no, it's time. Like, look, I wish him the best. As they say in the WWE when they release somebody, we wish you the best in your future endeavors. Get the fuck out of Pittsburgh.
Okay, so Don P's asking another question. So, what is your short list of replacements for Tomlin? Brian Flores.
He's my number one.
Number one. You could probably go get maybe Ben Johnson, maybe a Hines Ward, somebody who knows the Steelers organization. I know Chipper's.
I need to see Hines actually have some NFL, like at least coordinator. I don't know that I'm comfortable bringing in a college wide receivers coach.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right now.
maybe. How about a Byron Leftwich?
He's always been in consideration, but for some reason, no team has actually hired him as a head coach.
I don't know.
I wouldn't mind Bobby Slowick from Houston.
Yeah, Bobby.
I mean, yeah, there's people out there. Who the fuck was Bill Cowher when we hired him?
special
was-
teams coordinator in Kansas City.
Oh, and he was a defensive coordinator there for 1 year. Mike Tomlin was a secondary coach, and then he had 1 year of defensive coordinator at Minnesota. Like, you can find good coaches out there.
Aaron
And I don't know if Art Rooney is capable. Art, what is he, third, whatever. I'm not sure if he's capable of finding him, but Art and Dan, like, they knew what they wanted. I'm not convinced that this current owner is that invested in the actual football side of things as much as he is the business side of things.
Ben Johnson's another name.
Leftwich, is that breaking news that Leftwich is taking the Jags job?
I've not heard that he even interviewed there.
You also got Robert Saleh out there too, who's a good coach who got shafted in
Philadelphia, or,
New York. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen with Nick Sirianni if they fire him. They lose and not get to the Super Bowl. You don't know what's going to happen.
I can't. No, I don't think I could handle Sirianni here.
Okay, but anything's possible. Anything is possible. And George brought up a good point. He says Hines Ward was a USFL head coach a couple years ago, and I know you guys going to
big difference between USFL and NFL.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, look,
Steelers need an offensive. They need an offensive-minded coach.
correct.
I'd take Donald fucking Duck right now. That's how over this clown that you see on your screen I am. Like, it's time.
Although I'll go back to, I wouldn't mind Brian Flores. I mean, he is a defensive-minded coach. However, I can see him bringing in an offensive-minded offensive coordinator.
And he also has 4 Super Bowl rings with the Patriots. So he was with the Patriots defensive backs coach. He was their defensive coordinator. Then he got bumped up to, or he got the interview in Miami, blew them away. Just says it in the
Because didn't he blow him up because he knew he wasn't going to get the job, that they were just fulfilling the Rooney Rule.
Correct. And then he went on to Pittsburgh to be a special assistant for defense, and then went to Minnesota to go be the defensive coordinator, which Minnesota is 14-2 and playing in the, probably might go to the NFC Championship game. So yeah.
Like, these are all things we want to happen, but what's gonna probably happen is that Terrell Austin's gonna end up taking the fall, even though he's not the defensive coordinator and never has been. This is Mike Tomlin's defense. Right. They're gonna bring another yes man in to just wear the headset. Art's probably going to stick around because after these last couple games, he's not getting a head coaching job anywhere that I could think of. And we're going to fumble fuck our way through this quarterback situation, probably overpay Russ, win 9 or 10 games, and then get trounced in the playoffs. Lather, rinse, repeat.
Pretty much. It's like what Ryan said. It's insanity.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see.
We're stuck in purgatory.
Purgatory.
Yep. So what we'll do is
not purgatory, Dave. Purgatory.
Yeah, purgatory. So I know our season's over for the Steelers, but it doesn't mean Steel City Renegades is over. We'll have our list of free agents. Next week we'll go through them and see who we want back, who we don't want back, who's out there that could catch our eye. Never know. There might be a coordinator change on both sides of the ball for offense and defense, depending on how the playoffs go. But again, I like the Bobby Slowick thing, Chipper. I'd like to go get him as an offensive coordinator or somebody, maybe even
he is the offensive coordinator at Houston right now, so he'd be making a lateral move, which I don't think he would
bring
do.
in Byron. Would you be okay with Byron Leftwich as your offensive coordinator for 2025?
If you let him run his offense, yes. If Mike Tomlin keeps his dirty fucking hands out of it, absolutely.
Ryan, do you think that would be a good fit for the Steelers if they move on from Arthur Smith?
I mean, absolutely. Him or Cliff Kingsbury, maybe bring him in.
I think Kingsbury's going to get a job with either the Bears or he's going somewhere where maybe the Raiders, I heard.
I mean, the Steelers cannot go defensive-minded coach with their next hire. They just can't.
You're talking about coordinator-wise or offensive coordinator-wise.
I mean, coordinator-wise, yeah. I mean, I would be fine. Like D said, if they bring in Leftwich, let him run his offense. Nobody else touch it. Just let him do his thing.
And can we all just
Thanks, George.
what's that? Tiny Troy. Would it be a safe assumption, guys, that we can pretty much just drop the Tomlin getting fired, retiring, whatever talk?
Yeah, look, these are all like that's my Amazon wish list, but we all know it's not going to happen. Like it's just
so it's in the cart, but your girlfriend can't buy it for you, right? Or pick
right with my fucking credit card, and then it'll arrive at my house, and I'll have to drive over a fucking truckload of shit. Join us next week for Motor City Renegades.
Yeah, as long as you don't forget the packages and not tell her and then have to run back home to get them.
Yeah.
And wasting $45 in gas to go back and forth.
Yeah, and then I'll come home and order my $70 DoorDash Big Mac.
All right, Ryan, where can they catch you at, man?
You can reach me at ryanneff68@gmail.com. You can reach me on Instagram. I just changed my Twitter handle. It's at Mr. Ginch. There's a story behind that. I will not go into it.
If you can go into it in the chat, that would be hilarious.
But yeah, man, later on tonight on StreamYard and YouTube, I will be doing my show End Zone to End Zone. Matt Miller, ESPN draft analyst and insider, will be on at 8:00.
Oh, look at you.
Big time. You don't need Angel for that, do you?
Oh man, I can't believe you just went there.
I did go there. But anyway, thanks Ryan for joining us, man. Hopefully we get you back on the show. Hopefully we can get on your show. Chipper, where can they find you?
Home.
Home. Deej, where can they find you picking up packages for Amazon?
Yep. I'll be busy delivering Amazon packages that I've paid for and been shipped somewhere else. Or at Everything Steelers on Facebook, hanging with D's on the X and Twitter.
All right, you can find me here right on Redline Radio, Unscripted, and on Steel City Renegades. We'll be back next week, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good rest of your week.
Go Lions.